to share with you guys some thoughts we've had around audio and how it's going to work in the future of learning. So we've been really thinking about how we can design our solutions in a way that's going to work for society and be really convenient for them. And with the way that technology is changing over time, we really wanted to make sure that we're tapping into that and keeping up with what's happening out there. And a thought that came to us, and a lot of it was inspired from Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about how audio is going to be huge in the future. We had a thought about how could audio fit into learning and how can we tap into it now so we can get really prepared and make sure that we're making learning that's relevant to society. And it got me thinking, because I know when I'm on the train or I'm out in the city, I notice so many people have earphones in. So if you look around, there'd be like 50% of people at least would have some form of earphones in their ears. And it made me think, like, why are so many people listening to things all the time? And it made me realize that I think a lot of it is to do with multitasking. So when we need to learn something new or we want to take in new information, often we have so many other things on our to-do list that it can be really hard to really focus on one task at a time. And I know for me, if I need to learn new content, I find it really difficult to just sit there and fully focus on that one piece of learning because I know I've got so many other things I need to do. But for me, when I'm working or I'm on the tube or I'm out and about in the city, I often have my earphones in and I'll be listening to a YouTube video or a podcast and something that I know can add value to me but won't get in the way of my daily duties or whatever I need to do on that day. So basically I'm just going to talk to you guys about how you could potentially incorporate audio into your learning solutions, and we're still experimenting with it at Belvista Studios, but we've come up with some really cool ways that we think could work. So yeah, we'll get into it. I've got 2 tips that we'd love to share with you, so let's get on to the first tip. So the first tip is one that we've actually tried out at Belvista Studios ourselves to share our learning content, and it's filming a podcast. So we thought about what do we as humans really enjoy listening to, and we at Belvista Studios love listening to podcasts, and I've noticed a lot of people around me as well are telling me, oh, you've got to listen to this podcast and this podcast is really good. And it just seems like something that people are really getting into because it allows them to learn new things while they're on the go, listen to people that they're inspired by. And it made me think, how could we use that for learning? And I had an example that I thought potentially could be quite cool. And it was if a company wants to, say for example, train their staff on the company values. So they want their staff to really understand what the values mean, how they would act if they were going to align with those values in the organization. And I thought, what a cool way to do this than to have potentially the CEO of the company and some leaders in the company, some staff members in the company all in a room, and you could film a podcast with them so they could talk about what the values mean to them. The CEO could talk about, from a strategic level, what the values mean. The staff could talk about how they see the values playing out in their organization and in their day-to-day life. And you could literally record that podcast and have that as an audio file, and then you could just release it to the organization so they could listen to it wherever they want. It could be on public transport, when they're driving home, when they're lying in bed at night, whenever suits them, they can just listen to that content and really take it in. And I think it also taps into the human element, so it allows them to hear from real life people and people that are really relevant to their context because they're in the organization. So yeah, I thought a podcast could be a really cool idea if you are needing to share content with your audience. So yeah, that's the first one, podcasts. And tip 2 is creating small bite-sized audio files. So if you've got certain information that you need to share, whether it's a learning objective that you want people to understand or just a segment of information within a training piece, you could always have little audio files that people listen to outside of the learning experience. So whether it's outside of the module that they complete or outside of the training course. And this could be, you could pull, like, curate content online. So it could be TED Talks, it could be a podcast that you find that really relates to the topic that you're teaching your learners, or it even could be interviewing people. So is there people in your organization that could potentially shed light on the topic that you're teaching? Could they record something where they're just sharing information with the learner? So yeah, have a go at creating small bite-sized audio files that people can listen to on the go, because it will be convenient for them, and it really fits in with the way that people are living their life. So people are listening to audio content often out and about, so give them something that really works for them. So that's it for this video on audio content and the future of learning. I really hope it was useful for you. If anyone out there is using audio for their learning solutions, I would love to hear about it. Or if anyone out there has an opinion on audio and whether they listen to podcasts each day, whether it works for you or doesn't work for you. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you if this interests you.